today a little bit about balance. I'm going to do a little bit of balance poses, and don't be frightened. So don't go like, okay, I'm going to turn my computer off now because I don't like to work with balance. Um, and I've been reading this book. It's called Radical Wholeness by Philip Shepherd, and it's fascinating. I just began it, and it's already fascinating to me. But his work is really about embodiment that I can gather from this book so far is that the ways in which we culturally learn how to be embodied or not, depending on our culture that we're in. And our culture, the Western culture, has the sense that our top five senses, like, you know, our senses that we know, are really what we base our interaction on the world with. And because we tend to think of ourselves as dominating over the earth and having a boundary of our skin, that this is us and this is not us out here, those five senses really correlate very well with that mentality, that kind of storyline that our culture states, that we are separate individuals in our skin and we perceive the world through our senses, and that's how we interact. Whereas there's many, many, many more senses than the top five senses. And we choose to not cultivate them or ignore them from birth on because they don't fit in with the storyline of how we perceive ourselves as individuals in a culture separate from other. And in other cultures that don't have that same storyline of separation as profoundly as a Western culture, they have developed better senses, maybe not better, but more senses than we have. And balance is one of them. So we don't really think of balance as a sense, but it truly is a sense. And the reason why we don't put it in those top five is it's not just input from the outside in, it's a relationship. So balance, kind of, you know, what I've talked a lot about in yoga around yielding, you know, this kind of relationship you have with the earth, where you feel yourself give to the earth and you feel yourself receive from the earth. This is very much what balance is about, that we have to have a relationship with gravity, with the earth, with the forces all around us, in order for us to really sense moment by moment balance. And this is incongruent with I'm separate, the world is outside of myself. So we don't really think of balance as a sense, and other cultures do. So there's a tribe that I tried to remember it, but it's called the Anglo-Ewe tribe in Western Africa. Catherine Lynn Gertz is the one who studied them. She wrote a book called Culture and the Senses, Bodily Ways of Knowing in an African Community, and how children in that community are taught balance right from the get-go as part of their sensing capacity. And little toddlers, 2-year-olds, are able to carry water in trays on their head from the well without spilling. Can you imagine our little toddlers who are, I mean, it's the whole word of toddler, right? They're toddling. That we don't really deeply encourage the art of balance like some other cultures do. So there's ways we can help ourselves in this, in our yoga practice. So of course, balance. So we're gonna work a little bit with yielding today in the cultivation of balance, and also the sense of navel radiation. So working from the core of the body, and I don't mean like, here we go doing sit-ups. So Cindy, don't worry, I know you just had surgery, we're not gonna you know, be doing major sit-ups or anything, but just this idea of allowing yourself to sense your weight and your relationship to the earth based on this yielding practice, as well as based on where is the center of your body, and can you ground and get yourself rooted to the depth of the earth from that centered place. So let go of the expectations of balance as a static, stuck, you know, I'm not moving. Sometimes we concentrate so deeply on not wanting to move that we lock and we don't breathe, and we do all the things that are actually against our capacity to have this relationship in gravity instead of mastery over gravity. So let's lose the storyline of our culture a little bit, that we need to have mastery over, but rather that we need to have relationship with. And just notice if your ego has a hard time with that, because the ego is the storyline of the culture that tells us we must, we must, we must. And so if your balance is off, what can you do to work with it so that you're playing in balance, you're living in the relationship of balance instead of trying to dominate balance? So just work with this in your mind and in your body. Let go of any expectations of what it means to balance. So falling over is balance. Okay, so let go of our perception of stillness means balance. Okay, so close your eyes. That's a lot. I talked a lot. Sorry. Yep. So just take a moment to settle, to relax away from the mind a bit and come into the body. And even that is still a separation, a sense that mind and body are separate things. So let's see what we can do to blur the lines, to color, kind of swirl the colors together, so that your mind is your body is your mind. Take some time to rest inside yourself. Feel a sense of spaciousness on the inside, softening through your jaw, through your eyes, melting through your face. Let's come into the breath. So depending on what your sleep was last night, how your body's feeling today. And Ruth is here. It's much later in the day in Scotland. How has your day been? How has your body been moving through the day? Let's just kind of take stock with how you feel right now. Drop some weight down low into the body and see if you can allow the pelvic floor to feel as aware as the mind, in the sense of feeling the earth, the sense of relationship with whatever's below you. I'm sitting up on a bolster, whatever you're sitting on. Can you have, feeling of your bones, like your sit bones? That's part of your pelvis. Can you feel their relationship with what you're sitting on? Are you forward? Are you back? Can you drop just deep weight, like there's a giant ball, kind of like a weighted ball sitting in the bowl of your pelvis that's grounding you. You've, those punch toys that like are big and you can punch them and they come right back. They come right back because there's deep weight in the bottom of them. So let's feel that in and of ourselves, that our pelvic floor is not weighted in a steel sense, but in a breathing, earth-like, grounded sense, that we have a relationship with what's below us. And right now we're sitting, so we're working with the pelvis. Feel your breath fill you and empty you. Notice if you're a top breather, if you like breathing in your throat and upper chest. What can you do to open the pathways of lower breathing? It's not that you have to deny the upper breath, but be full as you can in your breathing. Let the bottom ribs have space, let the belly relax, allow the diaphragm to be the gateway to let the breath flow. What does it feel like to come into a sensation in the lower body instead of up in the head? Can you feel that plumb line that you have all the way down to the very core of the earth? Where do you feel that? Is it in your belly? Is it in your mind? Is it in your pelvic floor? Is it in your feet? Like where in your body can you feel that gravitational pull? I guess gravity above, but the earth pull, like the earth is holding you from the very center. So think of gravity as twofold, that, we have this deep center in the earth that we are connected to. So let yourself be pulled that deep down into gravitation. Breathe into that and then allow yourself to also expand. Imagine that you have forces and try to lose the push-pull. So maybe let go of such intensity of the earth pulling you down. But just see what it feels like to sense that you have an interplay, that the earth supports you, that you can move into the earth, and that the earth lifts you, almost like the earth has, a rebound that can lift you back up. And let that travel through your body as well. On Monday, if you were here, I talked about the vayus of the body, the energy movement down and up through the body. So just feel the relationship of the earth with this. All right, and then let's release the hands. Come into head, heart, and hands. Set an intention. And then let's release the hands and come onto our back. It's going to be a fairly gentle practice today, which is fitting since this is gentle yoga. Okay, come onto the floor. And now notice whether your knees are bent or your legs are straight. Can you spread out that sensation? That we're no longer just grounded through the pelvis, but that our whole body can spread out on the floor and feel that relationship. Let the bones of your body drop, almost like they can just settle a little bit lower. And where are you feeling the relationship with the earth now? Can you yield your whole body? Can you give yourself over? And can you feel the earth support you? Your breath is the gateway to the sensation pattern, so make sure you're not holding the breath. This is another piece of our cultural habits. We learn how to breathe from those around us when we're young, very unconsciously. So if you hung out when you were a child with people who held their breath when they concentrated, this is something that we can inherit. So allow ourselves now to breathe fully and deeply. Become water in your body. And then let's start to radiate from the center outward. So you've all done this starfish mentality, but instead of stretching really strongly, which we will do in a moment, see the energy body. Where is your deep center? And can you connect it to your limbs? And then bring your limbs back home to your center. Let's move right arm and left leg away from the center. And then move right arm and left leg back to the center. And switch that cross line of the body. Left arm, right leg reaching away. And then coming back home. Donna Farhi, one of my favorite yoga teachers, talks about this cross line in the body as being your earthquake protection. That this is your shoring up line in the body, that when we're trying to balance this cross line in the body, just keep going back and forth between the two sides, is a really important pathway to know in the body to help you stay steady, despite the turbulence around you, whether it's turbulence in the mind, heart, or body, or the environment. And now let's relax that. Everybody bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a hug, and rock a little bit. Just check in with the back. Let things be a little easy, swaying from side to side. And then let's circle the knees a few times one direction, and circle them a few times another direction. Just checking in with the pelvis now. How does the back side of the pelvis feel? Now maybe pull your knees apart and back in. Just sensing the movement of not only your hip joints, but the movement of your pelvis. Can you feel your low back change shape at all because of the way your pelvis is moving? And then take your feet together, soles of the feet together, and let your knees fall out. You can always grab a couple of blocks and stick them underneath your knees for Supta Baddha Konasana. Bring your arms out to the side, and let's just let ourselves open up into our center. So allow the pelvis, the belly, the the diaphragm, the chest, the throat, all the center of your body that we often, are very vulnerable against. We close ourselves down for all sorts of reasons. What does it feel like to allow yourself to trust in openness here? Can you be soft? Can you breathe everywhere through the center of your body? Breathe into the pelvic floor, into the deep low belly. Feeling the ribs flare, feeling the sideways flare as you breathe. All right, and then let's go ahead and bring the knees back in. This time have a little effort. So head up, chin in, knees in, unless you want to keep your head down, which is totally fine. And now give a little exertion, muscular effort. Move those blocks into your starfish. Stretch your body, squeeze your muscles, squeeze everything you have access to. Give yourself fully into the pose. And then head up if you want, chin in, chest in, knees in, squeeze everything you have here. Just wake up your muscles a couple of times. Open things up. See if you can have the energy body and the muscle body match each other. Then knees in. Feet flat on the ground. Let's just rock from side to side. Feel free to stretch your arm, just opening up the sides of you. We worked a little bit on Monday with the obliques in the body. See what it feels like to just stretch open the sides as you drop the knees from one side to the other. Okay. All right, and then go ahead and relax. Roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. So here we are having our first kind of balance pose. Even though there's 4 points of contact, we can start to feel that relationship of yielding. So see what it feels like. So let's start just with some cat-cows. And just notice your relationship to the earth as you move through your spine. How is your breath? And then find your way, come down to child's pose. Get a little closer to the earth. And maybe your knees don't let you get very close, and that's okay. Just get wherever you are. Feel your forehead drop down. Just find that sense of softness. And then let's take a deep breath. Walk the hands over to the left, lengthening through the right side of your body, dropping weight down into the pelvis, relaxing the base of the skull. Deep inhale. Deep exhale. All right, and then let's find our way over to the other side. Stretching through the left, relax your head. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And then come back. Come up onto all fours. Allow the spine to move any way you want to move. Make sure you move your head around, your tail around. Just get connected. Feel all of your vertebrae. All right, notice how you're breathing or not. And then let's find all fours again. So we're going to feel this yielding. So yield into your left hand and then yield into your right hand. And see if you can find the rebound going back and forth. So add the knees. So yielding into left hand and left knee. And then rebounding away from the earth, yielding into the right. And give yourself over to that sense of dropping into the deep center of the earth and feeling the earth give you back out. Going back and forth, making sure that you're breathing. See what it feels like to have even weight in your knee and your hand. Are you a top feeler? Like, are you more in your hands feeling than your knees? Can you see that you have even sensation of yielding through both? And now let's roll in some circles. So yielding into left hand, into left knee, into right knee, into right hand. So just some circles through the body. Let this be not about locking out joints, but about loosening breath and loosening joints. Coming into relationship with the body as a yielding force with the earth. Change directions. Go the other way, yielding into right hand, right knee, left hand. Don't worry about where you're breathing. Just make sure you are breathing. Make sure your joints are loose and receptive. This could be another sense too. I've talked a lot about interoception, the sensing on the inside. And let's go ahead and relax. Come back to child's pose. Come up to dog pose when you're ready. Curl open your feet, or open up your feet, curl under. Feel the length. Now play here a little bit. So what needs to open? Do you want to open up the calves a little bit more? Find some movement in the legs. Feel free to pedal, to sway, to bounce. Find your breath and just play around in the body. What kind of movement is going to get you fully present? And then once you have yourself steady, what does it feel like to yield here? And let's see if we can play with the cross lines of the body like what we did in our starfish. What does it feel like now to yield right hand and left foot and rebound that, and then find the other cross? Okay. And there's nothing inherently good or bad about any of this. It's just a sense of play inside your body. Just gently get to know what sensation feels like when you give weight, when you take a weight away, when you give weight, when you take weight away. And then let's switch that. Give weight into your feet. Give weight into your hands. Where does your body go to do that? Where does your breath go? And then play with all four. Yield into the earth, rebound away. Soft knees and elbows, soft spine, deep, full breaths. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees a lot, let your head dangle, sway, swivel, swing, whatever feels good in your body. Inhale for a halfway lift, letting the legs open and stretch, the feet are broad. Exhale and release back down. One more time, halfway lift. If you want to use blocks, you can. Extend the spine and the legs, feel the sit bones lift and widen. Exhale and melt back down. Sense the bottom of your feet. Let's rise up, reaching your arms if you want. If you don't want, and just find your way into Tadasana. So, I have 2 mats, a rug, a pad under the rug. I have a lot of soft underneath me right now instead of a wood floor. So if that's the case for you, see if you can drop into feeling whatever's hard below, the hardness of your floor, whether it's wood or concrete or something that you're standing on. Just see if you can sense all the way down into what's hard underneath you. Okay. Give yourself over all the way down into those depths. Feel yourself go even lower than that. What does it feel like in the bottom of your feet? Can you give sensation over? So stretch out your feet for a minute. Take a moment to wake them up. We didn't really do that like we normally do. I apologize for not waking your feet up when we were on our back. So let's do it now. Come up onto your tippy toes, roll back onto your heels. Let's just wake up some of the muscles in your feet. Okay. Back and forth. And then steady on. Feel the arches lift. Feel the toes root. See if you can feel weight of your bones dropping. That upward energy, the vayu that goes upward in the body, sense those 2 forces. If you lock things out, so now imagine that you were 5 years old. I'm sure you all did this. In your kitchen or somewhere where you put a book on your head and you decided you were going to be, not drop the book for whatever reason, whether you wanted to walk like a model or you just wanted to get balance or whatever. Everybody's, I'm sure, walked with a book on your head. And imagine what that felt like when you were a kid. What did you do to try to keep the head balanced? And did you breathe? Okay, so I know that I tried to prop myself up and I tried to lock myself out and I tried to hold my breath and tried to be still like a stone. And this is really not the way to not drop a book off your head or anything else. Instead, melt a little bit. So, wiggle around here, loosen through your joints. Let yourself be a little bit more free. See what it feels like to yield into the earth, to give your feet over, to drop deep, 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 deep down, to feel that deep center of the earth. Imagine you're touching the very center of the earth, and then that center is lifting you back out. Soften your joints, close your eyes. Center yourself from the deep low belly. Can you radiate from the deep low belly into your crown and tail? Can you radiate even beyond that into your crown and your feet? Can you feel that it's an interplay of moving away from the center and back into the center? Both. Away from the center, back into the center. So play with the forces of yielding, loose joints, deep breaths, the give and take with the earth, the balance between collapse and prop. And play with moving your breath or just your energy from the center of your body outward and back home again. Navel radiation and yielding are two of our greatest allies for balance, for sensing balance as a sense that where we are in space and how we hold ourselves in relationship to forces around us. Okay, now with that yielding, let's drop into our right foot and slowly pick our left foot up. And then we're going to drop into that other foot and slowly, I told you it was going to be a pretty gentle practice today, right? Gentle, not easy. Let's go ahead and try to walk a few very gentle steps. So don't lock yourself out, but just plant your foot down so slowly and lift your opposite knee up. Yield as you go. Move from the center, lift from the center, release from the center. And just see what's different here versus the way you might have walked as a child, trying to not, don't try to put an imaginary book on your head. Instead, think, where's my relationship to the earth? As I loosen my joints, I bend into the earth and I come back. So what would happen if you took a walk like this at the park? People would think you're weird, and that would be okay. All right, so let's go ahead and come back. Find stillness one more time, and just sense here. Breathe into the pelvis. Breathe into the belly. Let the diaphragm be a sensing organ within you that allows you to sense the lower parts of you. Yield and radiate. All right, take your feet a little further apart, a little wider than your hips. You can turn your toes out or straight, whatever is natural and comfortable. And we're just going to come to a squat. And I want you to bring your hands, you can touch your fingers and your thumbs and just drop. And I want you to imagine that you're not leaning over. So, like we're not going deep into a deep leaning over squat. We're kind of upright. And we're also not so stacked upright that we're rigid again. So let your spine kind of fall into where it wants to be, where your heart is still the guiding light moving you forward. Start to engage a lot of muscles, right? So your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes all need to work to hold you here. Close your eyes and feel that you are dropping a little bit lower. Can you still yield even though there's work happening in the leg muscles? Breathe into the pelvis and the low belly. And then let's go ahead and rebound out. Stretch your arms like a starfish. Open yourself up. Are you still connected to the earth, or are you now pulled yourself away from the earth? And then heel to your feet a little closer. Fold in half. Inhale for a halfway lift. Lengthen the spine. Exhale and release. Back down. Okay, climb up. We're just going to do one more little exercise before we move more, to help us feel the center, our core. So some of us tend to push our pelvis forward, like kind of stand like this. Some of us tend to, kind of like tuck our pelvis under and are like this. So I'm not sure where everybody's at with that, but imagine that you have a figure 8, where, and you can do this lying down too, but we're going to imagine that we're moving from the back side. Let's lie down to do this. I think it will be easier I meant to do this when we were on the floor earlier. Okay. Just find your breath. Okay. So right through a little lower than your belly button perhaps, or wherever you feel center. So I'm not going to tell you where center is in your body, you find it. And then imagine that you can drop a plumb line from the front of your body to the back of the body. And we're going to drop, like we're going to move a figure 8 in the body. So we're going to trail down the sacrum, wrap around the pelvic floor, and move up from the pubic bone to the navel. And let's just work with that loop. We're just going to work with that loop. Okay, so just find that sense that we are moving down the sacrum and up through the pelvic floor, back to the navel in the front and back down again. So many people tend to spill the pelvis forward when they're standing. And when we try to, so keep doing that, but look at me if you want to. A lot of people tend to spill the pelvic floor forward a little bit. And when we do this loop of descending through the tailbone, lifting through the pubic bone, try not to tuck, like we don't want to turn this into a deep hold. It's just an energetic sensation that we're lifting from the front and descending from the back. Okay, so go ahead and roll over. Now come to stand up. And this can get a lot more complicated in the body, but for today we're just going to be here. And come into Tadasana. And you can put your hands on your body if you want, like I am, or you don't have to. And just get the sense that we're moving right through the center of the body, down the sacrum, wrapping around the bottom of the pelvic floor, up through the pubic bone to the navel again. And notice if your tendency is to hold your breath. Notice if your tendency is, I have to lock this now. And so with anything that we're trying to learn for balance, we don't want to lock. So imagine this is just a flowing current in the body. And let the breath move with it. All right, so let's start to move our bodies a little bit more. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale and melt forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and release back down. Take your blocks if you want. Step your left foot back. Come into a lunge. Maybe your lunge is not very deep. Maybe your knee doesn't like to go this far. Maybe your back knee likes to be on the floor. So you decide where you are in space. And let's just open the lines of the body. So move as you breathe. So bending your front knee and then starting to straighten it a little bit. And it doesn't have to go all the way straight. Tuck the chin as the head goes straight. Just come into the sensations of the body. All right, now we're going to come into our first, more challenging balance. So rise up, put your arms wherever you want them to be. When we bring ourselves closer to our navel center with our limbs, we tend to have a little bit better balance in the sense of coming home. And when you reach away, sometimes we can have better balance. When we're real far, we have this, like the rope, the rod that the tightrope walkers used to carry. Okay, so you decide what makes you feel better in balance. Do you want to be close in to the navel center? Do you want to be away? Find the breath. See if you can find that pelvic loop now. It's energy. It's not muscular strength of tucking the tail. The sacrum descends, the pubic bone lifts. Find the breath. Find the yielding through your feet. Okay, and then release the hands down onto the ground. Walk your back foot forward. Come into a halfway lift. Open the body up. Exhale and melt back down. Step back. Come into a lunge here. Heart is forward. Let's start moving. Okay, you get to decide, is your back knee up or down? Is your lunge deep or shallow? Is your movement a big movement or a small movement? Make sure you're breathing as you go. All right, and then the next time you come into a lunge, find your way up. Ground yourself. So it's harder when your legs are further apart than when we were doing it earlier, when our legs were close or just dropping a little bit, or even that little walking exercise we did, this is harder because we're broader, we're further away from our base. Find the center, expand away from the center, whatever is working for you. Can you have that sense of navel radiation? And it's not just radiating out, it's also bringing the limbs back home. And the limbs can stay wide, and energetically you can hug back in toward the center. Can you feel that pelvic loop? How is your breath? How is your yielding? Can you feel the arches lift, the bones of your feet drop? Can you feel the radiation of your navel to your crown and your tail and back again? All right, and then release the hands down. Put your back knee onto the floor. Come back onto all fours. Cat-cow or swivel around any way that's serving you best. Let's come onto the floor. Okay. And once again, feel that sense of yielding. Turn your head for a moment. Feel your whole body yield down now. What does it feel like to give yourself over to the earth? Have you ever had the feeling that you're dizzy, standing on the edge of a, ledge or something, and all you want to be is close to the earth, right? To feel yourself get grounded. So just imagine that now. Allow yourself to feel the earth. And then let's come into Cobra Pose when you're ready. Inhale, open up the chest. And then exhale and lower. Let's take a gentler version. Take your forearms out, turn your forearms out to the sides a little bit so elbows are a little forward of the shoulders. Extend through the spine, extend through the legs. And then exhale and release. Come back up onto all fours. Have a moment to release the spine. You can do some circles in the pelvis. Turn, look out over your feet. Whatever feels nice. Find your way to dog pose when you're ready. Feel the extension, feel the yielding. Can you feel the radiating from the center on the breath outward to the limbs? Can you bring yourself back home to your center? Do you have a relationship with the earth? Are you breathing? And walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. And then come on up to stand. Once again, find your relationship with the earth. Sometimes I feel almost like I've lost an inch of my height and given it into the earth. Okay, so and then feel your height come back. You see that relationship? It's not a collapse. We're not falling into the earth. We're feeling that plumb line give down into the earth and rebound up. Okay, so let's start with a little. We're going to walk again, but this time we're going to have a little bit of high kick, high knee kick. So inhale, reaching the knee up. You can do whatever you want with your arms, and then placing that foot down and change sides. So try to imagine that you're not propping away from the earth to keep the book on your head, but that you're rather giving yourself into relationship with the earth as you kick the knee up. Okay? Are you breathing? And it's okay if you just have to kind of go back and forth on your mat. Are you breathing? Are you having a relationship with gravity? Are you having a relationship with the earth? Are you having a relationship with your breath? Are you having a relationship with yielding and with the sense of radiating from your center outward? Can you feel that pelvic loop where you're, having that energy connection of lifting from the front, descending through the back? Okay, let's come back to stand, and we're going to come into tree pose. So, actually, let's just do a little goddess pose just to open up our hips. So turn your feet wide. I'm gonna let you lean over now, okay, unlike before. So just open up the hips, turn your feet out, lengthen your spine. Find your breath. You can rock from one foot to the other. And then let's come back up. Let's do a Vira 2, just to open up our hips for tree pose. It's hard to do tree pose when you haven't done any hip opening. So let's find our way. Feel free to move through this if you want to move, whatever is feeling good to you. And then as we come into Virabhadrasana 2, and remember, your pose can be up here. You do not have to have this knee super duper bent. You very much can, but you do not have to. What does it feel like to find these forces now? To find the pelvic loop, the descent of the tail, the lift of the pubic bone. And this is, of course, a little bit of muscular strength, but we're not locking this in. This is a feeling so that we're not tipping and bowling the pelvis forward. What does it feel like to have the yielding, to move from one foot into the other, to find that relationship of yielding into your front foot and giving the weight back into the back foot? What does it feel like to radiate from the center of your body out to your limbs, all 6 of them, crown and tail included, and then hugging back in again? And then come on up and let's just do the same pose to the other side. So let yourself move, warm up here. So if you want to allow some movement in your body, go ahead and find some movement in the body. Breathing. And then when you're ready to be still, remember the pose can be up here somewhere. It does not have to be super deep in the body. Are your feet where you want them to be? Is your pelvis turned in a way that's comfortable for you? Do you have stacked joints? Can you yield? Can you yield into one foot? Can you feel that cross the pelvis and yield into the other foot? Can you yield into both feet? Do you have the rebound through your body? Are you breathing? Can you radiate out? Can you hug back in? Is your low pelvis a center for you? How does it feel to have to work and yield? You know, yielding is not a working force, it's a giving force. So how does it feel to have to yield and work simultaneously? Let's go ahead and turn our feet. Let's just take a Vajrayana. Stretch the back of your legs, relax. You can bring your hands down to wherever you like. Deep breath in and away. Heel toe your feet in. And let's come into tree pose now. Okay, so like I said before, detach your ego. Maybe you want to have some balance right from the get-go. You want to have something to hold. Okay, so what's great about having something close by is you can let go. You can grab it, a wall, you know, whatever you're at. So don't listen to the storyline of the ego. Listen to the sensing of the body. Let's stand on your right foot. Yield before you go anywhere. Yield and rebound. Find this, you know, yield and rebound. Can you find it in one leg? Where are you self-supporting? Can you find that you have even if your toes are just on the floor, that you have the plumb line going deep and lifting yourself back up? When you're ready, find your variation of tree pose. Your foot can be high, your toes can be still on the floor, your foot can be at your calf. Everything's very different in the hip depending on what you're choosing. So you do you, okay? And then notice, you know, where do you tend to make yourself, a lot of times people push their hip out, push their pelvis forward, forget that loop in the pelvis, lock the knee, you know, and then upright, you go from there. So what can you do to soften the knee, okay? Keep the hip in, feel the plumb line down and up, feel the navel radiation. Can you feel the cross lines of radiation in the body, okay? Do you have that sense of yielding into the earth and letting the earth give you something back? Is the pelvic loop there for you? Where do you want your arms to be? Close to the center, far from the center? How is your breath helping you? Is this a very different feeling than trying to not lose the book on your head? My sense is that I am much more aware of my relationship to the earth than my relationship with something on the top of my head. So now imagine that you did have a book on the top of your head and you don't lose the connection to the earth while you start to feel the crown. Okay. Now let's go ahead and release and relax. and put your foot on the ground. And just notice, you can, if you want to move around, wiggle, come back to 2 feet. If you lost your breath in the balance, gain it again. If you attach to the ego, detach again. If you lived in the storyline of, I must lock to balance, detach from that storyline. And let's find our way to the second side. Yield. Give your left foot over. Soften the knee. Bend. Give yourself a little bounce, a little rebound from the earth. And then bring your foot wherever you're going to give it. Try not to lock. Don't push your pelvis forward. Don't push your hip out. Don't lock your knee. Don't hold your breath. Okay, so those are all the don'ts. Let's do the do's. Sink into the foot. Soften the knee. Can you feel the pelvic circle? The sacrum descends, the pubic bone lifts. Not so much that you're tucking or pushing forward. It's just a sense that you have a relationship of moving energy in the pelvis. Do you want your limbs far away from you? Do you want them close? Can you feel the cross lines in the body? The earthquake support system. Is your breath here? Do you have the yielding? Do you have the navel radiation? Do you have your breath? If you have those things, it does not matter if you're standing still or you're wobbling. You have balance. Balance is a relationship that's constantly in motion. It's never a separated, stuck experience. Place the book on your head. Feel the floor below you. And let's release the foot. Okay, so either step or jump, hop. Just let go of the pose. Okay, and one exercise I know I've done with you guys before to sense this yielding is to imagine you're going to hop. So if you're going to jump up, you have to go down first. Try it. Try to not go down first. You don't go anywhere, right? So you have to give to receive. So if you were going to jump, you have to go down first before you can go up. So think of this. We have to give to the earth to feel the earth give us something back. All right, so close your eyes for a moment. Feel balance as a sense. Even with 2 feet on the floor, let's start to move around a little bit. So you just play in whatever kind of ways you want to play. You can lift a foot up. You can kind of go in all sorts of ways that perhaps unusual, like if you fell, if you tripped on the sidewalk, or, play with that a little bit. Stand on your right foot for a while and play, and then stand on your left foot and just allow yourself. We're not doing yoga poses here. We're mimicking what actually happens when we lose our balance. And where are you going? Do you like to spread away from your center? Do you tend to hug into your center? Is your navel there for you, your core? Do you have a sense of yielding? Are you breathing? And then once you're done playing with both legs, 2 feet on the ground, find your breath. Yield again. Inhale, reach the arms up to the sky. Exhale and melt. Fold in half. Inhale and lengthen the spine. Exhale and release. Step back to a plank. Look, we almost got away the whole class without doing a plank. Guys, go ahead and come into a plank. Feel those structural supports here. Are you all muscle, or are you able to yield a little bit as well? And then when you're ready, put your knees down onto the ground first if you want. Come down to the floor. Come onto your belly. You can take your arms above your head or down at your sides. Let's find that cross line in the back. Inhale, right leg, left arm. Exhale and release that down. Change sides. One more time. Let's find the cross line in the body. All right. Come back up onto all fours. Swivel things around, finding your breath. Move your head. Okay. All right, now let's come back. We're going to come onto our side for a moment. So lying on your right side, straight line in the body. Okay. Hand on your hip to begin. Find your breath. I think we worked with this on Monday. You can find a little strength in your obliques, find your little mouse hole. And then we're going to lift the arm in the air, and we're going to lift the leg in the air. Now, this is a different kind of balance than being on one foot, but even still, if you're patterned to hold your breath and lock yourself up, you might find yourself doing that here. So what does it feel like to give to the earth, to receive from the earth? Can you have strength and yielding simultaneously? Is your neck released and soft? Is your breath moving? Okay, and then let's relax. Roll over onto your side, or onto your back rather, and let's go to the other side. Okay, so coming onto your left, stack everything like a straight line. Hand starts on your hip. Find your breath. Okay. You can always put a blanket under your head if you need some support. Find the yielding, find the strength, both. So no, if you tend to be a locker, if you tend to be an overachiever, type A, like I'm going to muscle my way through this can really show up in a pose like this. So have this balance of being able to have strength and yielding. And then if you're a more of a yielder by nature and you're just like, no, I'm just going to hang out here and lean into the floor. What do you need to give some sprightness to your body? Okay, so bring that arm up, bring the leg up, find the balance between effort and surrender. The breath is the gateway to find this balance. Nothing happens without the breath. Can you feel the pelvic loop? Can you feel the navel radiation? Can you feel the yielding? Okay, and then go ahead and relax that and come onto your back. Okay, so lying on the floor now. Spread out your limbs. Stretch your arms and legs wide and then let yourself melt. Deep inhale. Long exhale. See what you feel. Can you melt a little bit more into the earth? All right, let's bring our knees in. Give yourself a hug. Rock around a little bit. Feel free to roll out your feet. Deep breaths. Okay. Now lift your legs straight up in the air. You can decide whether you want your arms down or up, so there's definitely some core work in here. See what it feels like to not just push your low back into the floor. Is there just a bit of yielding to be had? And then knees into the chest. Put your right foot on top of your left knee and come into reverse pigeon pose. Allow your hips to open. Let's stretch them after the standing poses. See if you want movement. See if you want stillness. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're still breathing. Let's go ahead and put your feet down onto the ground. So switch sides. So if there's nothing else that you kind of come away from class with, my hope is that you have the sense that balance is not a stuck state, that it's not something that you can will yourself into muscular strength to endure. That stability isn't just about strength. It is about strength, that strength needs to be a part of that equation, but that it's not just about grip and strength and steel rods in the body. This is our, storyline that we can control over. That if we just dominate with our will and strength, we can have control over. And balance is a relationship with, not a control over. So if you find the underbelly, the softer parts of balance, this navel radiation and yielding, and marry it to the will and the effort, then we really become in relationship with gravity, the earth, balance. Okay, let's go ahead and relax. Take your feet down onto the ground. Let's just do a simple twist. Lift your hips, move them right, knees up, drop them left. And, as you practice these subtleties, try to notice where this shows up in balance in other places in your life. Whether it's the balance of work and play, the balance of effort and rest, the balance of solitude and relationship with others, balancing your checkbook. It doesn't matter what you're seeking balance for in your life. Can you bring this sense that you need the hard and the soft? Okay, let's scooch the other way, bring the knees up. And not only that you need the hard and the soft, but that it's an ongoing relationship that's always in flux. And the more present we are to the relationship of balance, the better we become in our relationship with balance. Okay, I'll stop talking now. Come out of this and find your way into Shavasana. So as you find ease, where do you want to be in space? Do you want to be on your back? Do you want to be on your side? Do you want your legs up on something? How do you want to be in your body to find ease? And as you settle, probably you're on your back, and if you settle into the floor, can you give whatever's touching the earth over to the earth? One last bit of yielding here. Give yourself to the earth. Trust. It takes a lot to give yourself over. It takes a lot to let your limbs rest into some support. So breathe your way there. Let the breath be your guide. Can you live inside the breath? The flow, the ease, the space. Relax your eyes and melt any tension you feel through your face. Deep belly breaths. Feel that lingering of the earlier Supta Baddha Konasana we did, where the pelvis, the belly, the chest, the throat are all free. Guide your breath there. Let's begin to deepen your breathing. Come into fullness. Move your body however you want to. Eventually find your way onto your side. Let's go ahead and roll over. Come on up to sit. Just take a moment to offer the grace of your practice outward. Share this sense of connection, relationship. Offer it outward to someone you love. Namaste.